If you love Baltimore sports, you'll love WNST.net.
So I'm very happy to welcome Nestor Aparicio. Nestor is the owner of WNST Sports Radio 1570 here in Baltimore, and he's also an owner of personality. He's been doing this for a long time. He's a great wealth of knowledge about sports and Baltimore sports media.
I'm older than I get.
So I'm very happy to have Nestor come in and talk to us. So this is going to be our last guest speaker for the semester. So again, another great opportunity for you to get some class participation points. So Nestor, you can talk, and a lot of great knowledge. So please ask questions, give answers, participate. Great opportunity to earn those final class participation points. Okay?
You want to tell them what you thought of me when you worked for the Orioles, or not?
I was always fine with you, but I drank the Kool-Aid when I was there, and we tried to ignore you. But you can talk about that and the issues there with the Orioles. So, but join me in welcoming Nestor to the class.
Thank you. How many of you are from Baltimore? Let's start with that. Zero.
There you go.
Wow. All right. So this is good. So none of you have ever heard of me. None of you know anything about anything I do. Great, because we're hyper local. I own WNST.net and AM 1570. I don't know how much time I have, but I'll start at the beginning. I love sports. My cousin's in the Baseball Hall of Fame. I went to Cooperstown on Monday. Any New Yorkers here? I visited Albany the other day. Not much to recommend Albany beyond Springsteen, but I went to Cooperstown and saw my cousin's plaque. I've been here my whole life. I'm from Dundalk, east side of town. Went to traditional public high school and love sports. And I worked at the News American and the Baltimore Sun in the 1980s. I know what you're thinking. I look like I'm 28. I'm not. I'm 43. I've been doing this for 27 years. It's all I've ever done. I went into it to become a journalist. So I was a reporter. I actually carried hot metal type when I was 15 years old at a newspaper. How many of you read a newspaper on a daily basis? Right, exactly. So there is no future in that. So a young guy like me wouldn't want to work in an industry that's dead, right? So in 1992, Camden Yards was built, and I left the Baltimore Sun. I had worked at the Sun from 86 until 92, went to college at UB, and covered the Capitals, covered hockey and minor league hockey, but I was a reporter. And we used to make fun of the people like Marco that sold all the advertising in the paper, right? They were the ones driving around the Lexuses and the BMWs, but we got to, talk to the coach after the game and all that kind of stuff. So in 1992, when the Orioles were at their zenith, drawing 3.8 million people a year, I decided to go into sports radio. I was 23 years old, didn't know anything about marketing, had never sold anything beyond, a bill of goods to some girl at college. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't sell anything. But I got on the radio, and because I knew a lot about sports, I was a sports guy, and everything I've had to learn about marketing didn't come in a classroom. I didn't have some great teacher like Marco. I went to sort of the school of hard knocks to learn how to market, and I realized pretty early on the only way to make money, you need to generate money, right? So the only way you generate money is to sell pizza or burgers or wings or beer or whatever. And actually, one of my original sponsors was a place that the Loyola co-eds used to hang out, a place called Gators that's now Zen West. Zen West? You guys know that area? Okay, cool.
When did Gators go?
That's basically... Gators was probably like 92, 93, 94. Yeah, right around the time these guys were born. Right around then. So how many of you were born in the 90s? Damn. This is great. It's great getting old, isn't it? So in 1992, I started doing sports radio. And the Orioles were the king of the mountain. And I had to learn marketing. And I learned marketing really simply. I went into a pizza shop down on Harford Road. And the guy down there was the whole shop wasn't as big as this room. And I said, hey, will you give me $100 a week to talk about your pizza on my radio show? He said, how many people listen to your radio show? And I said, I don't know. I really don't know. Arbitron says no one listens. Well, there's a start, right? So how much pizza am I going to sell you if my audience isn't as big as the room? Well, lo and behold, Arbitron 20 years later is still a bit of a scam and a joke. But it's the only measurement that I have in the radio industry, right? So every month the book would come out, and some girl in New York would look at it who does all the buying for Bud or Coors or Miller or Buick or Baltimore Ford. Look at me, say 0. Look at BAL, see 6.0 or some rating number that equated to cost per thousand. And the next thing you know, BAL will get a $38,000 buy, and I'd have my face up against the glass saying, please give me $100. So that's the way it still works 20 years later in the big industry of radio. But for me, I did radio from 92 until 98. And in 1996, the Ravens came to town. And that kind of changed everything because at that point, I went from being sort of a cult figure doing afternoon radio. And I had hair down to my ass. I did the whole Howard Stern afternoon thing. Nasty Nestor was my on-air name. It's a little back when you were young, right, Marco? So
when did you get rid of the Nestor?
I still don't. I think if Till comes down here right now, he would.
So you could call you that, right?
90% of the world refers to me as nasty. My wife thinks it's wonderful. So, but I did radio in the 90s and had never had a rating point ever. But somehow I'd walk down the street, people would yell my name, and I buy your pizza, I go to your restaurant, I drink your beer, whatever it was. But in 1998, I got offered a chance to buy my own radio station. So in 1998, we bought a radio station for $1 million. A lot of money, but size of a nice house. You get some nickels together, you get some friends, you go to a bank, you get a loan, you buy a radio station. If I wanted to buy WBAL, which is 50,000 watts, and you could hear it from Nova Scotia to Florida, it would have cost $50 million. And I didn't have $50 million, and I didn't have BAL, but they're the ones that had the ratings that were billing $15 to $20 million a year by marketing, not just in sports, but also news. Rush Limbaugh, your news and weather together, and every 20 minutes we'll give you an update and give you traffic where you go on your iPhone now and you see where traffic is. So a lot of the premise of radio was the immediacy, the urgency, the voice, the information that all of you youngins born in the 90s now have at your fingertips. And I do too on my Droid or iPhone or whatever. So a lot of the premise of radio was like a breaking news story. If Ray Lewis died in a plane crash today, 20 years ago, that would happen on the radio. The radio would break in and breaking news and War of the Worlds and all that stuff. Now it's just, when Whitney Houston dies, it comes on your phone. Like you see it on your Facebook, you see it on your Twitter. So radio becomes this sort of depreciating asset no matter what because, let's be honest, it's blind. I can't show you this water. I can't show you this label. I can't show you this logo. It's radio. Close your eyes. Listen. And it's radio that you only listen to in your car. And if you buy a 5,000-watt radio station, you get about 35 miles from Towson. And at nighttime, your signal decreases per the FCC. All those rules were set up in the 1940s, and they haven't changed at all. So radio was very limited, but I saw a hell of a lot of pizza and beer and clothing and cars and bars and everything else by doing radio to a captured audience in Afternoon Drive 20 years ago, 15 years ago.
Your listeners are very brand loyal, aren't they?
Incredibly brand loyal, and I think that you find a fanaticism in anything that you do every day. I mean, all of you have some of you like Oprah, some of you like ESPN, whatever the brands are that you like, Starbucks, whatever you're into, right? She's rolling a Starbucks there. You go to Starbucks for a reason. You like it, right? And you go back tomorrow, and there could be 100 different kind of coffees there, but you like what you like, right? So for me, being Nasty Nestor in the 90s, I got nationally syndicated on 400 stations from 98 till 01, 4 years, where I toured the country, made money, did all that stuff. But I'm very loyal to Baltimore, and my life and my family are here. So I moved back to Baltimore. I never left Baltimore. I came back to local radio. I actually set up a radio station in my home, and I did national radio from a bedroom in my house in White Marsh for 3.5 years. And when I came back, I went back on the radio, and after 14 years of doing it every day for 4 hours a day, I was a little burned out. And honestly, all of my energy went from in 1992, being a kid who loved sports and just wanted to talk about sports, and I had someone else teach me, dude, you want to make money? You got to sell pizza, right? I mean, that's where the money comes from. There's no magic tree as to how we get sponsors or how we get marketing money. You need to deliver results. I mean, if you're not selling pizza, they go away. And in my world, I'm going door to door to local owners, right? So, I mean, I'm not knocking on the door Outback Steakhouse in Tampa that's making a national buy. As I went through, that money always went to CBS Radio or Clear Channel. I was just a one-stop shop. All of my sponsors were like a dude behind the bar, one of your parents who happened to own the place and write me a personal check every week. And they had to feel it. If they stopped selling hamburgers at the restaurant or cars on the lot, I'm gone, and they're going to the Caps or going down to Marco or going to the Orioles or going to FM radio or going to the local newspaper or going to search at this point on Google or Facebook ads, a million places to advertise.
If you love Baltimore sports, you'll love WNST.net.